Okay, everybody. Hey, this is Josh Peak, OKUSA Wrestling with Zachary Randall, the chairman, and we wanted to do an update. We haven't done that in a little bit. So, well, let's just start, Zach. Well, first, thanks for taking your time to do this. I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, of course, always. Anything broken wrestling.
Yep. Well, let's talk about the Missouri border battle. That looked like a pretty good success, especially for our Oklahoma guys. It looked like they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, first, really appreciate David. David inviting us up there to that. Our wrestlers, and we came in and we supported it with great Oklahoma fans, and always trying to support events that support Oklahoma guys. We want to support those type of all-star experiences that went to a great cause. It was cool to see Randy up there. It helps his foundation, and so it was just an awesome thing to for our kids to be a part of. And I encourage support of those kind of programs, and we did great. Kind of like we always do. Oklahoma wrestlers are awesome. You can get if you get your hands on an Oklahoma wrestler kid and gets to go to your college, and you're lucky because we have some special kids, some great head-to-head matchups. It's funny. I had this one college coach. I'll refrain from naming him, but basically he said something to the effect that Oklahoma state champions aren't as good.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta tell you, I think that's crazy. I mean, I know I'm a little bit biased because I'm an Oklahoma guy, but we have some of the best wrestlers and coaches in the country, in the world. Our high school coaching in Oklahoma is incredible, and I think it kind of showed because we matched up against Iowa and Missouri and Nebraska state champions, and we won almost all those matches. And the ones we lost by a little. And those are great wrestling states. I mean, Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, they put out a lot of great wrestlers too. And so I feel like we do a great job, and our state champions and our coaches are as good in a lot of situations. And of course, I'm biased. I'm going to say I'm better than most. And so it was awesome to get to see the kids showcase that and wrestle. And they wrestled so hard, and it's so hard right now to wrestle, I think, for kids, even kids that wrestle year round, because it's so early, in the season. I know my boys are way different wrestlers, come, January than they are in October for sure. But it was a cool event, man. I loved it. I was really proud of our kids and our families.
Yeah, it looked like we had a lot of Oklahoma victories there too. Looked like our boys wrestled pretty good overall, and which leads into the next event. Let's talk about the Texas Oklahoma duels that you guys have put together. That looks pretty exciting as well. Some juniors and seniors.
Yeah, for a long time, as the chair, I had to definitely, do some housekeeping with some of our other things. And now that I'm getting to my second year of this, it's fun because I can come up and start promoting some of the ideas I have about helping us kind of continue to grow wrestling and continue to be great. And I always wanted to do, an OU Texas duel. I think that's great. I love the history of that. I think the Texas versus Oklahoma games, the border brawls, those things are just super. And so we got a group from Texas that's going to come out and support that. And they're going to put together an all-star team. And we're putting together an all-star team, both men's and women's, and we're going to duel. For this, we try to, our staff put the teams together, our directors that are appropriate for those age groups, put them together. And we tried to look for kids that were, really good Oklahoma wrestlers, but maybe some kids that haven't quite, maybe been recruited and help give them a chance to kind of shine, and I know Texas is looking at promoting their athletes as well. And so these kind of events are great because it helps, college coaches and other coaches that are looking for good wrestlers. It gives us the opportunity to show them a little bit and show what they have. So I'm excited about that. It should be a great duel. I'm really looking forward to it. Great kids. And we'll release more press on that too and bios and stuff. So
yeah,
all that information can get out. That's one thing I'd have to say that David did with the border brawl. It was awesome is he released a lot of bio information, about athletes. So to get that exposure for those kids to help. So while we're not really an organization that's set up to do a lot of marketing, and advertising because we don't have the budget or the volunteers for that, we're going to try our best to help, support events that do that and also try to create national events to do that as well. So the OU Texas, the first kind of Bedlam not Bedlam, but border, kind of brawl, Red River rival thing for Oklahoma, Texas is going down here on November 7th. And I know that, all our volunteers that help will try to get as much information out about that as we can. It's going to be a cool event. I'm really excited about it.
And that's going to be in the Dallas area, right?
Yeah, it's going to be at, I can't remember the name of the high school. Big one, Lake Carroll, maybe high school.
Yeah.
So one of the big ones.
We'll put the information out on Facebook here pretty quick. I mean, we'll put it in a graphic. I think, and you're right. David did a great job of these graphics as well, showcasing the Missouri kids, and who they were wrestling, Oklahoma kids or Kansas or Iowa, whoever it was. He did a really, really good job, I think, of his graphics and marketing as well. And you're right. I mean, we're seeing a lot of these on different channels that are doing their own specific marketing. But I think as an organization, you're doing a great job as far as providing the opportunities, the board, and you guys are putting together some pretty cool things. And so we did have one question here. I don't know if you have the answer to this, but this girl or Chad and Mandy ask, where can they buy OKUSA merch, shirts, hoodies, that kind of thing? Do we have a place for that or not yet?
Yeah, when I came into this position, that was one of the most difficult things we had kind of set up was our equipment. And we're working really hard right now. We have a vendor that we, in our next, board meeting come November, are going to have to approve for that. And we'll open a store up that will give folks the ability to buy Oklahoma wrestling equipment so they can support it. Because, yeah, definitely, as a fan and parent, I want Oklahoma wrestling equipment too. One of the big things we're going to do with this, and I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit, is we're going to make a very specific sponsorship shirt that, the funds are going to go towards reducing the costs of the Duels and Fargo directly. So parents can buy this shirt, so show their Oklahoma support. The funds and proceeds go directly to that event. And then also too, as you're another fan too, if you see them with this particular shirt, you'll know that they're the kind of folks that are contributing to our state, contributing to Oklahoma wrestling to try to help kids. I think that's an important thing. Since we're all volunteers and we're all volunteering our time and we all care about this, I think, people showing their support and us recognizing those are people that do that is important. So that should be coming here, hopefully, definitely before the summertime, but hopefully around Christmas time.
Cool. Well, let's talk. The last thing here that I know you wanted to talk about was, we've been putting on some of our graphics, Recruit Oklahoma. And I think that's an important topic. Obviously, we've seen a lot of Oklahoma kids get picked up here as of late from some pretty good schools, but we could probably always keep pushing the marketing of the kids or to get them exposed to some other colleges as well. So kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I actually had to go look up some stats because one of the things that's most impressive about Oklahoma that I don't think a lot of people realize or haven't maybe stepped back and thought about is how good our Oklahoma colleges are. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have, some really incredible college wrestling programs. Obviously on the top of it is OSU, Coach Smith, was legendary wrestler, legendary coach. He's got a great crew of coaches. They have like 34 team titles, which is kind of an insane number of national titles. And they have, the thing I always like as a coach is I like looking at the champions and All-Americans, and they have 143 champions, and they've had 473 All-Americans. Wow. When you think about the number of athletes that go to college, the small percentage of them that can, and the number of championships and champions and All-Americans, and you can't nearly throw a rock without, hitting an Oklahoma State wrestler coaching, youth and junior high and high school. And I think that's great. I mean, that's kind of pretty outstanding. I mean, and then, that's your Division I, right? The winningest wrestling program in Division I. And then right below, you got your winningest Division II wrestling program, UCO. And I mean, their stats are incredible too. They have 15 team titles, 68 champs in their history, 255 All-Americans. And they're head up right now by Coach Stidley, who's incredible. I mean, that guy is if you don't like Coach Stidley, there's something wrong with you. That guy's awesome. And they got Coach Chenoweth too up there helping. I mean, those guys in themselves are legendary, even Oklahoma wrestlers, but also legendary Oklahoma coaches. and that, they're heading up a program that's just a storybook too. And I mean, you can't talk about UCO without talking about Coach James.
Yep.
Coach James was there forever. And I mean, it's funny. Coach James is the second winningest coach in NCAA history. He's an incredible guy. When he retired, it was like, oh, it's so sad, but he's crazy. And then it just doesn't stop. I mean, both those teams, OSU, UCO, they're fighting for national championship this year. Like they're in the hunt right now for national championship. And, you drop down to NEO too. They're in the hunt for a national championship too. Also, they brought that program back. Joe, their coach, Coach Joe, he's doing a crazy job. I mean, they're right in the mix. And so, there we got all those schools, in those divisions all fighting for a national championship. And then, you got Bacone, Carl Albert, Oklahoma Westland, those schools are all starting up, OCU, OU. I mean, you still have so many other great schools for kids to go to that are great programs and winning programs. And, I know we just started women's wrestling, but I actually pulled some of the stats on OCU women's wrestling program, and my dad was a big part of starting that program. And they have 4 individual championships. They have 28 national champions and over 100 All-Americans. And women's wrestling is pretty new to have that many, And so, I mean, the thing is those colleges and those great coaches, they're all going to grab the kids, that they can out of Oklahoma. I mean, obviously, if you're in a college and you can tap into your resources, you do that. That's smart, recruiting. So they're going to grab as many kids as they can, but they can't take every great kid we have, Mm-hmm. And so a lot of our kids that are really great also leave the state and go to other colleges. And, I've heard college coaches say, well, I don't even want to try to recruit Oklahoma kids. It's too hard to get them. They're all gobbled up by the other schools. But, I mean, there's still a huge population of kids that are available, and able to wrestle. And so you got to look at that. It's amazing how many kids we have. And I just think, too, like if you get an Oklahoma kid, you're getting a quality kid. We wrestle year-round here. It's in our blood. It's in our culture. Wrestling's a part of our life. And so if you're getting an Oklahoma kid to your college, and it's not even one of our state colleges, you're going to get a kid that's going to be dedicated. We've got a great work ethic in Oklahoma. It's just a special place as far as a state. And so I would recruit those out-of-state coaches. I'd really encourage them to get on any of our kids that don't get scooped up. But you better get on them quick because we got such competitive, great colleges. They're going to grab them.
Yeah.
But the ones they don't grab, I would encourage out-of-state guys to grab those and gals. They're great.
Well, yeah, and talking, I mean, our best place to look for those guys, you look at our cadet and our junior duels. I mean, both teams were stacked with guys that are very able to go wrestle at D1 and D2 teams. I think those are the best places to look at our guys. I mean, this coming year for juniors and cadets, but juniors is going to be, I mean, it's going to be hard to get on the team as far as to get a spot. We're going to be stacked.
Yeah, I mean, every year, Oklahoma wrestling is just filled with great wrestlers and it's deep. And that's what I would just say is that Oklahoma kids are definitely worth recruiting, and we got to continue to promote them. And I think one thing that's really important when we're promoting them and we're talking about them, and I talked about this a little bit in the last meeting, the youth league meeting, and maybe I'll just finish on this kind of topic, but it's very difficult for any individual club or person to claim a kid. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To say, Joe Bob Williams, that kid's a national champion. He's my kid, or that's a, I know you live in Tulsa, like that's a Tulsa kid, or that's an Oklahoma City kid or whatever it is. And I would tell you the reason why that is so hard to say and agree with as a coach in our state is that so many coaches help our kids. And I'll just use my kids, for an example, but, my boys have been coached by coaches from Miami, Oklahoma, down to Lawton, Oklahoma. There have been coaches that have, Coach Miller's grabbed my kid in Greco and talking to him about something. And, Eli Hales from Miami, Oklahoma, is incredible national champion from UCO. He's helped my son at practice or telling him stuff. And there's just so many people that contribute to our kids. And I think club wrestling is so valuable. These are great to have these different clubs that are helping and have these great coaches in them. But I mean, let's not just basically forget about like the outstanding high school wrestling coaches we have in our state. We have the best, in my opinion, high school wrestling coaches in the country.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those guys and gals, they just get kind of overlooked, like, oh, here's Joe Bob. He's awesome, and he's wrestling for Team Kong. But there's a high school coach back there that's in the grind with him every day. And junior high coach has been with them, since Little League. And these guys really and gals really support their athletes, and so I hear that a lot. And the final thing I'd kind of say on that is, when you're talking about kids and who should get credit for them, obviously you've got to remember that it's very rare that there's a good kid, a little boy or a little girl that's a good wrestler, doesn't have a mom or dad behind him, doing a lot of work. And, only people that are going to listen to me talk are going to be wrestling parents,
Yeah.
And let me tell you that it's a lot of work, and it's it takes a lot of dedication. And so let's not forget about those parents that are supporting those kids. And so, and that for me, the mindset is it's a village,
Yep.
So a village of people have contributed to our great wrestlers. And so I like to think of all the great wrestlers as Oklahoma kids. They're Oklahoma, and we all help them. And I'll help a kid no matter where he's at if I'm coaching. And I know all our coaches on staff and all our youth clubs and all our junior highs and all our high schools, they'll help any kid that walks in the room. We've walked into – I've taken my kids probably every wrestling room in this state, and never once wasn't there some coach that didn't say, yeah, come on in, come work out and let me help your kid. And that's amazing when you think about it. And I think that's what makes Oklahoma wrestling great. So it's really us. It's an us thing. And so if we keep that concept, that's how we get our kids, recruited, not only to the schools that are in our state, but also our outer state schools, because everybody knows somebody by some degrees of separation. But if we're all promoting our kids and all talking great about our kids and our coaches and our clubs, then that really helps, I think. And if you're from, if you're from Boston or if you're from Arizona or somewhere, and you call up to talk to your buddy that lives here, and all of a sudden they start talking real bad about a coach or a program or a kid. Well, what they don't realize is that they're not just talking bad about that kid. That's tainting our entire state. And so I would encourage anybody that talks about kids, especially kids or kids, be positive about that and supportive about that, because if you don't, you kind of make, I think, yourself look bad, and really all the kids look bad.
Sure.
In our whole state. So support Oklahoma kids and let's get them out there. And because I love seeing them wrestle in college, and it's so fun to watch those kids compete at that next level. It's hard, real hard level.
Well, let's talk before you go here. We have another meeting coming up in November, right? So, just give a kind of a what date is that, and where is it located at? So
again, we'll post it all. It's I think like the second weekend in November.
Yeah.
It's going to be in Cushing. We like doing it there because it's in the middle of Tulsa and Oklahoma City area, so it's kind of gets a little bit of both sides of the state. I know for some it's a little further drive when we move it there, and then also we get great support there from that golf course, which is beautiful. If you've ever seen that golf course in Cushing, it's amazing. And
it is.
One of our board members, Rick, is involved in that. And it's just, again, it's a really incredible thing. He volunteers his golf course. We get that for free for our meeting. If you get the opportunity to go out there and play before the meeting, you should. It's a great course. It's fun. It's nice. It's really pretty. Whenever I go out there, I always think like this is Oklahoma, like it's a golf course that looks like it's an Oklahoma golf course, which is cool and kind of nostalgic for me. So I would encourage people to get out there to go to that golf course there and golf before the meeting. Yeah.
Well, cool. I appreciate you taking time to do this. It's good to have an update every once in a while. I know everybody wants that, and everybody's busy, and so this is a good way to get the message out. Make sure you guys, if you see this video, go ahead and share it on social media. This is being streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and also Twitter. So you'll be able to find it in all three of those locations or social media platforms. I think that's all we have right now, Zach, but I appreciate, again, you coming on. We'll be having some new updates coming out as well on our social media, as well as the November meeting. We'll be putting that out soon as well. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, share this with your friends and people in the wrestling community. We'll be doing more of these as we go along here through the season. So that's all I've got. I appreciate it, Zach.
Hey, thanks. Good luck to everybody this next wrestling season. I'm super excited. I know we're all going to do great, and it's going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate it.